Today we're going on a wild ride, all the way from a simple lost receipt, the kind you can't find in your wallet, to the kind of billion-dollar corporate lies that bring down entire companies. We're going to unpack how a single, tiny mistake with numbers can spiral into something truly catastrophic.
It's a great question, right? They seem like they're from two different universes, but honestly, they're not. They're both rooted in a breakdown of financial accuracy. So, let's connect the dots and see how small, seemingly innocent errors can grow into massive, system-wide failures. Okay, let's start with the small stuff, or what seems like small stuff. It adds up to this: $7.8 billion. That's what U.S. businesses lose every single year just from simple day-to-day accounting errors. It's a mind-boggling number, and it all starts with tiny mistakes.
So how does this even happen? Well, think about it. Someone's rushing to finish an expense report. They had a client mail for $49.50, but their fingers are moving too fast, and they type in $94.50 instead. It's a simple transposition, but now imagine that happening over and over across thousands of employees. Suddenly, that $7.8 billion problem, it starts to make a whole lot more sense, doesn't it? And really, the culprits are things we've all done. Simple typos, losing a receipt from the bottom of your bag, or misplacing a decimal point, which can accidentally turn a $10 charge into a $100 one. Each one on its own seems harmless, right? But together they paint a completely wrong picture of a company's financial health, and that can lead to some really bad decisions.
All right, so we've seen how individual mistakes can add up. But what happens when the problem isn't just a person making a typo, but a major flaw in the company's entire system? Well, that's when you go from simple accounting errors to really serious trouble with places like the IRS. One of the most fundamental parts of a healthy financial system is something called account reconciliation. It's really just making sure the company's numbers match the bank's numbers. It's like balancing a checkbook, but for a whole business. Now, it sounds simple, but this one step is your best line of defense for catching errors and even the first red flags of fraud. If you're not doing it, you're basically flying blind.
And here's another huge systemic issue: misclassifying who works for you. The IRS is super clear on this. An employee is someone where the company controls what work gets done and how it gets done. An independent contractor, the company only has a say in the final result. That distinction is everything.
Because getting this wrong isn't just a paperwork problem. It's a financial nightmare. A business can suddenly be on the hook for years of back payroll taxes, not to mention staring down huge penalties from the IRS and fines from the Department of Labor. It's a systemic failure that can absolutely cripple a company.
So far, everything we've talked about has been, unintentional mistakes. But there comes a point where these breakdowns in the system get exploited on purpose. And that's when we cross a really important line from the world of honest errors into the territory of deliberate criminal fraud.
To understand how this happens, criminologists and accountants use a really fascinating model called the fraud triangle. It's a psychological framework that basically says it's not just one bad apple. Instead, it's about a perfect storm. 3 specific conditions all coming together at the same time.
So for fraud to really take hold, you need all 3 sides of the triangle. First, there's got to be some kind of incentive or pressure. Maybe the company's struggling, or maybe an individual has a lot of personal debt. Second, there has to be an opportunity, a weakness in the system that they can exploit. And finally, the most important part, rationalization. That's the story they tell themselves to make it okay. Like, I'm just borrowing it, or the company owes me. When all 3 of those things click into place, fraud becomes almost inevitable.
And the results? They're absolutely devastating. And these aren't just numbers on a page. They represent real people. When Enron collapsed, thousands of employees lost their life savings. WorldCom's $11 billion lie led to a historic bankruptcy. And of course, Bernie Madoff. His Ponzi scheme just destroyed the lives of so many people. This is the dark end of that road that starts with a simple error.
So when you have crimes this massive, hidden in plain sight inside financial reports, how do you even begin to untangle that web? Well, you call in a very special kind of investigator.
And that brings us to the forensic accountant. Think of them as part accountant, part detective. They aren't just checking the math. No, they're looking for clues, they're following money trails, and they're piecing together the story from this tangled mess of transactions. For them, the balance sheet isn't just a report, it's a crime scene. So, what is forensic accounting, really? It's this unique mix of skills. It combines the precision of accounting with the instincts of an investigator. Their goal isn't just to find a mistake, it's to gather hard evidence that can actually stand up in a court of law. They're literally building a legal case one transaction at a time.
At its heart, their job is to put the financial story back together. And to do that, they ask the same questions any detective would. Who did this? What exactly did they do? When and where did it happen? How did they pull it off? And the big one, why? By answering these fundamental questions, they can turn a jumble of numbers into a clear, compelling story of a crime.
For a long time, the fight against financial crime has been a very human one. But now, a totally new player is stepping onto the field and creating a powerful new line of defense. And that player is artificial intelligence. Now, this is a really crucial point. AI is not here to replace accountants. It's here to augment them, to make them better. It takes over the tedious, repetitive work where humans are most likely to make mistakes. And that frees up the professionals to focus on what they do best: high-level strategy, complex problem-solving, and giving great advice.
And you can see AI is having its biggest impact on the exact problems we've been talking about. A full 40% of its power goes to automating data entry, the #1 source of those tiny errors. It's also revolutionizing account reconciliation. But maybe most importantly, it's constantly on the lookout, detecting anomalies and spotting suspicious patterns that even a highly trained human eye might miss.
And the results? They're pretty incredible. Firms that bring these AI tools on board are reporting up to a 75% reduction in the time they spend on manual data entry and reconciliation. Think about that. That is a huge amount of time freed up for more important work. This massive boost in efficiency completely changes how these businesses operate. In the past, if a firm wanted more clients, it had to hire more people. Simple as that. But now, with AI, a firm can increase its client capacity by 3 to 4 times with the exact same team. It's a total game changer, letting them grow in ways that just weren't possible before.
Which brings us to our last question. Technology is building this amazing new defense against error and fraud. But we all know, as the good guys get smarter, the bad guys tend to get more creative. So will AI finally be the thing that ends financial crime for good? Or are we just about to enter a new, far more sophisticated cat-and-mouse game? That's the question we'll all be watching. Thanks for joining us.